Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Dragon Warrior Randomizer Tournament Finals. This tournament has been going for months. When it started, it was summer, and now there's snow on the ground where I am, anyway. It's been a heck of a war between 64 competitors. Battlefields have been worn thin, slime goo has been spilled, and finally we are left with two warriors with nothing but more dragons on their mind. This is MisterHomes versus up2ng in the finals. I am your commentator, NESCardinality.
And hi, I'm Sparkover, and we've got a special guest here.
That's McGrew.
He's shy right now. It's okay.
He'll be with us to provide any outstanding technical details. As I have learned over the past few months, there is still much about this game that I do not know, despite the fact that I have learned so much.
So we're just letting our racers go now. The race is just starting up right at the moment in SRL. Momentarily, we're going to be going out of the gate with 4 strength. Well, this is going to be fun.
It's going to be an interesting battle, and this is game 1 of a best of 3. Enjoy, everyone.
And we are off.
MisterHomes taking it a little easy on the opening menu. Doesn't want to overexert himself. up2ng starting in on the treasure chest. We start with the silver harp and money.
Hand axe money, indeed.
The harp is interesting in a 4 strength start. It could hypothetically be used as a tool to find some sort of slime.
Perhaps one of the metallic variety.
Exactly. And what do you know? How did I know this was going to be a swamp seed? 4 strength and a harp.
Is this the dream?
It could be. This could be a major suffer seed. We'll have to see what happens. 20 HP is nothing to sneeze at, though. They're probably going to be able to walk out in all fairness.
And don't say that.
Even if they aren't, they'll be able to take some steps for fighting.
Alright, so we do have a few steps clear of the castle, and the first enemy we find is a ghost, but we're scared of ghosts, so we're going to run away a little.
There's a possibility that a ghost could be defeated, but it's not a good one. 20 HP and 16 agility, that's something, but it's not everything. up2ng finding a cave. Interestingly enough, not checking it out immediately. I'm sure he will now that he's discovered this area is a dead end. No, he's skipping it. What if it's like the tablet cave with Erdrick's sword?
So I'm just momentarily going to pause up2ng just to get the 2 timers of our runners synced on my screen here. up2ng, we just had about 6 seconds ahead of MisterHomes, so I'll be starting him again now. Thank you for waiting. Our runners should be just about as synced as they possibly can be at this point.
MisterHomes has found a red slime, and even red slimes are difficult to beat when you have 4 strength, but of course with all that HP, he's in the clear, and that is our first 2 experience of this race.
So with the money, you're definitely going to want to be thinking, can we find a town somewhere nearby? Are we able to, buy the dream of the hand axe? But at the same time, you don't want to wait too long because you don't want your competitor to get ahead.
MisterHomes has found this cave, and he is going to go straight in. And it looks like the mountain cave. And MisterHomes is going to see if he can get to a treasure chest.
Meanwhile, up2ng finds a slime. The slime attacks, but I do believe that he is going to be defeating it here, and he will get his first experience point. Wait, so what's that on MisterHomes' screen? I can't see it!
It's a Demon Knight, and it has Stop Spell.
They are very difficult to run from right away, so unfortunately MisterHomes is sent back to the castle.
And he's going to hold on to that 2 experience, not holding on to that extra gold. Still the possibility of finding a town and buying a copper sword at least. up2ng also trying to get some distance, and he is also going to hold on to that 1 experience. Neither of them can be blamed. I think that's the right play. It's so little experience to get to level 2.
So MisterHomes takes the little journey to the west out of the swamp, but is back attacked by the Magidraki and is also sent home.
And up2ng checking the south, so we are seeing a lot of land here. And of course, if there is a town that sells a hand axe and no copper sword, there is the option to restart. Meanwhile, up2ng finds out wizards are our first Dragonlord Breath enemy.
And that definitely is going to send him home right away. So MisterHomes now taking a little bit of an extra, jaunt, but unfortunately finds a green dragon. Guess what? Also his Dragonlord Breath. Gosh.
What a seed this is. And you just know, I certainly know from experience, in a situation like this, Both runners have got to be really nervous right now, wondering if their opponent has found a town in a different direction or fought their way to level 2. up2ng gets a second slime, and we are going to be tied once the final blow is delivered here. I'm sure he'll get it. And MisterHomes has found a red slime.
Oh my gosh, he's going to double the lead! You know, providing the red slime has no mystery powers under its pocket. Do slimes have pockets? Where do they keep all that gold they give you?
I said I would keep track of lead changes. Now I have to keep in mind that they also had a tie there for a bit. And MisterHomes finding a blue slime. This is going to give him level 2.
Alright, so let's see what we get for the first level of this game. We get 4 power, 10 speed, 4 hit points, and 0 MP.
That puts ghosts on the table at the very least.
So we've doubled our strength now.
Magician's still not a good idea. I don't think there's anything above ghosts that, other than metal slimes, that either racer would like to fight at level 2.
Yeah, and I think I found, I saw Hurtmore over on the Scorpion side that up2ng found.
up2ng electing to just try and get level 2 back at home. He knows slimes are in this zone, and he gets an excellent move on slime number 3. And look at this, our third Dragon Lord Breath enemy is the Droll. Wizard, Green Dragon, and Droll.
How droll!
And up2ng has found a red slime. This is going to allow him to equalize. In fact, we are tied for a second time.
Oh, the ties. So courage and wit happens again and again. The 4 power, the 10 speed, the 4 hit points, and the 0 MP.
It looks like up2ng wants to continue fighting for level 3 in this area. It's hard to commit to grinding when there's so much open space around you, but when it's hard to get anywhere, you just feel like you're wasting too much time going too far only to be sent back with half your gold.
Yeah, and that with all the deaths that the runners have taken, pretty much the potential for most anything that would have immediately helped them is already gone.
I didn't see if MisterHomes ran from that ghost or what, but I'm surprised he didn't try and fight it. Because I really do think they're on the table now. But he is also electing to grind and just took down another slime.
Well, maybe he thought that the ghosts aren't on the table because it just fell right through it.
Of course. Here we go, he's attacking this ghost.
Oh!
They have breath.
Well... So I'm not sure if he happened to know that or not before, but now we know that. It is just a little breath, but when you've no way of healing yourself, that isn't really any consolation.
It's more than enough for a ghost to take you down. He could survive 1 breath at full HP, but that doesn't mean the ghost is worth fighting. Meanwhile, up2ng defeating a red slime. Does that put him in the lead? Yes, it does.
But now this red slime on MisterHomes' side. Look at these exchanges.
Amazing.
And now up2ng has a ghost and also discovers this little baby breath. So very back and forth match right now.
Back and forth by points. Literal experience points. We're 7 minutes in, both players are in single digits and grinding. This is highly unusual.
Whoa, don't speak now, NESCardinality, but I believe MisterHomes is up to 2 digits in experience.
What a tremendous stride forward.
I mean, I can count those all on my fingers right now, but one more enemy, say this one here, I'm gonna need your help.
MisterHomes rapidly discovering slimes and red slimes, up2ng running from ghosts. The lead is not big though. Just a few slimes. MisterHomes now up to 13 experience. He is 4 away from level 3.
That's 2 red slimes, folks. But the ghost won't do it. I have toes! I can count to 20, as mentioned in chat. Thank you so very much. I can get up to level 3 all by myself.
You can see the difference it makes MisterHomes using those desert tiles to get encounters twice as quickly, and it looks like it is the same zone up there. up2ng getting a red slime while MisterHomes settles for a blue slime.
I liked how the two of them are very focused on just 2 exact tiles. It's a lot of just little back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, I imagine both racers, especially MisterHomes, having ventured further north, they're trying not to jump into the next zone. They're not too familiar with the tiles.
So up2ng did try and take a swing at the ghost here. I'm not sure if that was just death warping because the health was so low at that point. But the ghost did breathe twice. I wonder if they are, you know, very, very extra spicy ghosts. Possibly 75% chance of that breath.
Either way, good information for up2ng to know that ghosts aren't the best choice right now. Magicians have hurt. up2ng defeats a blue slime and emerges in the double digits of experience.
Mr. Holmes here just really hoping to find a red slime to get to the next level. Of course, would accept this, regular old slime as well.
Simultaneous slime kills Mr. Holmes 1 away from the next level, up2ng 6 points away.
And here is the slime for Mr. Holmes, and with a good old punch, let's see what brings with level 3.
Oh, we didn't gain any MP last time, did we? This time we gained no agility, 3 power, 10 HP, 2 MP, and we've got heal and outside, and heal is going to open some doors here.
Well, I did start with the outside spell, but it really hadn't been of much use to them at that point, though heal is definitely going to have some more options here.
Mr. Holmes is now going to go up and see this dead end. Hasn't tried to re-enter the mountain cave just yet. There could be a lot of good treasure in there, but realistically, it's only the sword that could help them right now, or potentially a key, as any gold, there's no place for them to spend it yet.
Yeah, it might be a little tempting with the heal spell now, but at the same point, he already knows Demon Knights are down there too, which are very difficult to run from.
We have not seen much of this map, but we have already seen a world of hurt between hurt-mooring scorpions and Dragonlord Breath from 3 enemies, as well as Weak Breath from ghosts.
So I suppose Magicians are quite a good choice to have now, even if, you're going to be a little bit weak against them, but with the heal spell, they're definitely an option.
Mr. Holmes is going to give it a shot. It's a little less appealing with the hurt spell, but the heal spell, he's got 4 heals left, and it doesn't look like the Magician is hurting 75% of the time. So he's definitely got a shot here, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, and I think at this point, when you know you can take a Magician out, even if slowly, that might be a little bit better since you know the ghosts are totally not an option. I'm not sure if Mr. Holmes has seen Scorpions have hurt more, not that that would be quite an option yet, but when you... Oh, no, and the Magician has heal more.
That is disappointing for Mr. Holmes. It's not too much time wasted, but man, that Magician would have been so valuable.
This table is emptying really quick, NESCard. I mean, the ghosts are off the table, and now so are the Magicians.
Right. So what have we got? Slimes and red slimes on the table.
2 kinds of slime, sliming up the table. Mr. Holmes is trying out the Magidrake here, which is also going to be a little bit slow of a fight, but as long as they have no tricks up their little bat sleeves, then,
You can see Mr. Holmes at 11 strength, he is strong enough to do 2 damage to a Magidrake, and that means if the Magidrake has no abilities, they're already a better choice, and already a good choice. He's got 3 heals, and I suspect he'll only have to use 1 of them, if that. He might beat it without healing.
In a way, this is actually better than the Magician 2 so far, as we have not seen anything like a hurt spell, and Mr. Holmes does take down the Magidrake. Meanwhile, up2ng defeats a slime and gets to level 3, is going to receive the wonderful news of the heal spell.
Only a Magidrake and a red slime behind Mr. Holmes, and if he fights a Magidrake, if he realizes that's a possibility, he's going to be right in there.
And look at that, 4 damage to the red slime now, very strong punches.
Mr. Holmes has found another Magidrake, and that means he will reach level 4 after this battle. Another quick red slime for up2ng. He's getting better encounter luck now. Still not the time to fight ghosts yet.
Alright, so with that, Mr. Holmes defeats the Magidrake and gets to level 4, and with that we get 3 power, 0 agility yet again, 6 hit points, and 4 MP.
This seed does not want to grant our racers any easy ways out, and it's going to be a very interesting struggle.
Ooh, so Scorpions have sleep, and we also know they have hurt more. That's a very bad combination, but I am assuming that Mr. Holmes isn't aware of that yet. And question in chat, harp in the throne room? Yes, the throne room had the harp, some money, which has kind of been dwindled down by this point, and of course the key.
I wonder when this Scorpion is going to decide he wants to cast Hurt More. It might only be a 25% chance.
Yeah, maybe that one time we saw it that up2ng was just very unlucky, but so far it's not working out too bad, though Mr. Holmes doesn't have any more heals at this moment either.
Is this enough? No, not quite. Still not casting Hurt More, and he's awake again. Oh, only 1 damage is not going to cut it. Meanwhile, up2ng defeated by a Magician.
Yeah, I guess it is a very low chance of the hurt more on the Scorpion, but still, unfortunately, after all that time, Mr. Holmes is sent home by it.
Yeah, I'm going to bet it's 75 sleep, 25 hurt more. Mr. Holmes has got to feel nervous after committing so much time to that Scorpion, having it not work out. But he is still in the lead at the moment. up2ng, meanwhile, finding another red slime. Only 5 red slimes away from the next level, so even if he doesn't move up to a Magidrake, this is going to work out well.
Yep, slow and steady with these slimes.
Mr. Holmes has decided that 1 experience point is not worth his time anymore. He is going to fight the ghost.
Maybe just trying to see how often it breathes fire, but it is very consistent, as we have seen so far.
Mr. Holmes, by the way, did 6 damage to that ghost in 2 attacks. Ghosts can have either 6 or 7 HP to start. And unfortunately that one had 7 and breathed both times. And now Mr. Holmes electing to run from ghosts. up2ng, still gonna try this magician. He might not have seen Healmore before.
Yeah, I don't believe he had, so we'll see how this goes.
Wow, an excellent move from Mr. Holmes, but it's not enough, and the magician casts Healmore. Now, if this magician is defeated on up2ng's side, this would be enough for level 4. This could be a big turning point.
Yeah, it just depends on how committed that it actually is to casting Healmore, and there it is again. We have not defeated a magician yet. I want to assume this is some very consistent Healmore.
Mr. Holmes defeated by another ghost, and up2ng gets another red slime. He could get to the next level in as few as 3 battles, but he's found a Magidrake but didn't try fighting it.
Yeah, maybe he just thinks he's a little bit too weak for it and just wants to stick with the slimes for now.
It is working, though. Possibly 2 more battles to the next level. That's an easy acquisition. And with this red slime, the next battle will do it for up2ng. Level 4 looms on the horizon as Mr. Holmes chipping away at another very valuable Magidrake. Not enough for the next level, but good progress.
Alright, so then up2ng does get to level 4 temporarily. They will be at the same level, though Mr. Holmes still does have about a 20-something experience point lead at the moment.
up2ng has not suffered much from not using desert tiles. He might be assuming that the north desert tiles are a different zone. Nice, excellent move on that Magidrake, and that's another great bit of speed.
So that's going to help him catch up a bit.
The 2 players are now 1 Magidrake apart, although Mr. Holmes in the lead is fighting another.
Though for up2ng's side, I do want to sort of hope that since he attacked that Magidrake, maybe he will consider attacking them in the future.
Oh, with this level, definitely, no question.
Yeah, question in chat, has anyone checked the harp encounters? No, nobody did check any of them yet. I think seeing slimes in the first zone was enough to make them stick with that. And as well, they're playing with the scared metal slime option, so trying to hunt for a metal slime isn't exactly the sort of thing they would try going for.
Bravo to our players for clicking on that scared metal slime option. I do like that. I think it's a good option for sportsmanship.
So question in chat, what is harp encounters?
So the Silver Harp in Randomizer can attract 1 of 8 enemies in a randomly generated pool. That pool is consistent for the entire seed for both players. You can use it anytime on the overworld to find a random enemy, 1 of those 8 enemies. And you never know, it could be a slime, it could be a metal slime, you never know.
And yeah, question in chat about what magicians have. They have Hurt and Healmore, of which we have never seen anybody not have the Healmore be cast against them.
up2ng does take another Magidrake, and it's only a Magidrake and a half between our 2 competitors, still both at the same level, and up2ng gets another Magidrake. So the gap is going to narrow further here.
NESCard?
Yes.
How do you defeat just half a Magidrake?
You do 6 damage to it, and then it puts you to sleep and runs away? I don't know.
But you don't get any credit for that. And so yeah, question in chat, 5 is it 82 experience? Yes it is. So this Magidrake will give Mr. Holmes the level, and this will get up2ng pretty close, within 1 Magidrake at this point.
And this is it, Mr. Holmes, the first to reach level 5.
That's a whole hand.
Mr. Holmes is going to gain 3 power, 1 agility, 0 HP, 2 MP, and the spell of repel, so it's another very small level, nothing really huge and significant, and Mr. Holmes has had enough. He's going to take a stab at the mountain cave, probably going to run from everything and beeline towards those treasure chests.
Well, he doesn't have a sword yet, so he's not going to be taking a stab. He's going to be taking a punch.
But he's not. He
All right.
makes it to the first chest, and what is it? It's a torch. He's going to go ahead and use that for maneuverability.
May as well, don't have to bonk on the walls quite as often, and then he finds a demon knight.
I didn't expect him to get away from that guy, but he got away first try. He's gonna check the close chest first. And he's found a key, and that could be huge.
Significant. And you know what else he found? It's some pain. So the second you start having fun, this is where the fun police come in and say, oh, excuse me.
So, Mr. Holmes, this is kind of interesting. He's found a key, but he doesn't have much gold. He's gonna save and see what's in the treasury and probably just gonna reset and take his key back unless the sword is in there. Because he can't really do anything with money right now, so there's not much else that could be beneficial for him.
Yeah, I mean, he could even potentially make a gold grind happen, but what are you doing in this position gold grinding?
up2ng. What was it?
Sorry, so Mr. Holmes found a key inside the treasury there, some wings, an herb.
So no reset then.
And a gold grind that is essentially useless right now, but he'll at least get enough money to get some more keys for sure, and possibly some extra for fun.
It'll be interesting to see how much gold he gets, not knowing where a town is and still relatively weak. up2ng just reached level 5, and I'm really surprised he hasn't even checked what that nearby cave is. I mean, what if it's tablet or stones? What if it's like the Stones of Sunlight cave with Erdrick's sword or something?
Yeah, I didn't notice if he had gotten there, if he had seen that yet, but thought I'd be curious eventually. Okay, so this is really weird. Mr. Holmes still has this treasure chest. What's going on with that?
So, gold treasure chests are programmed in a really interesting way in Dragon Warrior 1, and I believe that it has to do with memory limitations. The cartridge was essentially full. They crammed it with all the space they could. And one of the things they did to ensure that no soft locks happened is that whenever you take a treasure chest, they want to make sure that if you lose the item, you can get it back. So, as soon as you leave a cave, the chest is returned to its location. But when you open it, it's, instead of being removed from the game, it's put into an array that's 8 chests wide. And once you fill that array, there's no other place to put chests. Now, there's no location that has 8 chests, but what the programmers overlooked was that oh, there's the Stones Cave in the basement, by the way. We're just going to check what Mr. Holmes gets here. Walking a little bit further than the chest. A little bit more gold, and he could grind on it if he wanted to. So, if you die in a cave and are returned to Tantagel, the game doesn't register that you leave the cave until you re-enter the overworld. So those chests remain taken, in quotes. And if you take a 9th chest in the treasury, it has no place to put it, and you can just take it over and over. And so the gold grind begins.
And that's how we get unlimited money. So Mr. Holmes, now with a little bit of money to his name, is going off on an adventure. That is enough money to purchase a silver shield, which is the best shield in the game.
Vovitz, you might want to keep trying. As I mentioned, I have heard that there are 8 enemies in the heart pool. So it'll probably be pretty easy for you to find another enemy if you want to keep trying. But up to you. Lorgon says from zones 3 and 4. I actually didn't know they were from specific enemy zones that exist on the map.
Oh, yeah, I didn't either, actually.
So, in the midst of all this gold grinding, up2ng has taken an experience lead. He's continuously been grinding that whole time, and getting pretty close to level 6.
And we'll see if that brings any adventure. Looks like he is very committed to getting the next level, just marching back and forth inside the forest. Meanwhile, Mr. Holmes was sent home by a stone man, but did save now, I believe I saw, so he will be able to keep some of the money if he chooses to reset again.
I wonder if Mr. Holmes will look around, or I guess since he saved, he's going to try and look for an outlet for that money, because it's much more valuable now that he can afford something much bigger.
And it's definitely going to be a little bit easier to explore as well, since now he's got more stats, and also importantly, the heal spell.
He could buy a broadsword, full plate, and large shield and still have tons left over.
Wow, very classic combination. up2ng still just walking back and forth on the forest, very committed to getting the next level. And it's noted in chat that I actually did miss Druin's heal more as well.
Oh, I can't believe up2ng didn't do enough to that magician. He's gonna stick with it.
They definitely do have enough attack power to, you know, be able to defeat the magician. However, you still need to sort of get lucky with how your hits are distributed.
He's gonna heal first, and then if he does, I think 5 is all he needs here, maybe 4.
Just punch really hard.
But he rolls 3, but no heal more, so he should be able to do it on this attack.
Are we going to get a magician? Hooray! And on MisterHomes' side, another cave, and we find the Staff of Rain cave, which they actually do have the silver harp. So MisterHomes right away will exchange the silver harp for the Staff of Rain.
No reason not to make the exchange right away if you're not going to be using that silver harp to find enemies. And up2ng, this magician is going to be enough for level 6 if he can just get through those heal mores.
So does the harp do anything other than exchange it or find enemies on the overworld for you?
The harp?
Yeah.
Oh, yes! If you want to play a delightful enemy, a delightful tune for an enemy, you can make the enemies look happy.
Alright, so 1 power, 17 speed, 4 hit points, 10 MP, and hurt more at level 6.
This is amazingly significant. If MisterHomes doesn't find a town here, this grind, this steady grind, could end up paying off for up2ng. He's finally going into the mountain cave. Yeah, he didn't know what cave it was.
And meanwhile, MisterHomes is sent home, and he is choosing not to reset. And now let's see, it looks like up2ng is favoring exploration over the hurt more and the easier enemies, and I definitely don't blame him. If you've only got a couple casts of that and want to stay healed, you're going to want to save your MP.
Now you guys might think up2ng was excited to find a metal slime, but I think exactly the opposite. I think he's thinking, oh man, what if MisterHomes got in here first and got lucky? But he's made his way to oh, that's the first chest, just a torch. He's got to get downstairs for the magic key. He's on his way.
I don't know, that metal was a little bit brave.
It was a little bit brave. But after it missed a couple times, oh no, a red dragon.
Oh dear. So that is going to be sending up2ng home right away, unfortunately, without even discovering the key.
Really unfortunate timing, as I could see up2ng now wanting to take a look at the overworld to see if he can get more hurt-morable enemies.
Though at the same time, if you know the mountain cave is down there, well, there are a lot of chests, but at the same time, if you know the red dragons are there, that might not be as tempting right away.
He is casting Repel, and I'm expecting somewhat of a journey here, but I've been wrong before. No, he's going straight to the mountain cave. Good for him. I think this will work out well for him.
So question in chat, what was Tantagel Basement? It was the Stones of Sunlight Cave with gold.
A Star Wyvern has been found, and he can survive an attack. I don't think he can attack to finish it off, but he'll know. He'll double hurt more here for sure. And that is a huge boost forward.
Yeah, it's very valuable for him. Is that going to get the next level?
No,
Not quite.
No. The next one will, though.
Yes. So this cave here is the mountain cave.
He's not going back for another torch. He's going to do it in the dark. And he is going for the key chest first, and he's got it.
But do we get to see anything else?
He's getting some distance. He is 4 steps away, and a Wolf Lord is a good enemy, really valuable as well. Not quite enough for the level, but the next enemy will give him a level.
Oh, right, I was thinking the level was at 300. My bad, and we didn't even get there. So the next 2 chests, we find some gold. And some torch.
So this is enough chests so that a gold grind is possible. But I think the gold is in the bottom right chest, although if he opens it up, he could go to the basement and gold grind there.
Yes. Oh, and he got another level along the way with all these hurt more, so he gets 7 power, 5 speed, 2 hit points, 9 MP, and MisterHomes, unfortunately, is sent home by a rogue scorpion. He's still going with the overworld exploration right now.
Here's the last hurt more for up2ng, and after that red dragon suddenly getting a flurry of good luck encounters, very hurt-morable enemies, as he attempts to head down to the final chest in the mountain cave.
Looks like he's just coming around the last little hallway. He's just going to do a little alley-oop here, turn there, turn there. There's a chest guarded by the Droll Magi.
Which he isn't going to want to fight with no magic, but no problem to run away from, and he receives the Stones of Sunlight, another vital item.
So a key item at the bottom of the chest here, and let's see if he chooses to try and walk out, or will, most likely be sent home by the fun police.
Dodging the excellent move.
So this is a very good spot to death warp. There's pretty much nothing that, you'll be able to safely fight here.
It's faster than leaving, there's no downside, it's a quick heal, and there's no point in holding on to gold when you have no place to shop. Also might get a gold grind.
Yeah, speaking of holding on to gold, well, we'll have to see if he does choose to take any extra gold out of the castle with him.
He should go and buy keys first. Yes.
Yes, having money, that is definitely the play to do. MisterHomes did not make it down to the gold chest, so did not have anything extra when he made it to the keys.
Is MisterHomes at no keys right now? Oh no, he got money and bought, that's right.
Yes, MisterHomes does have keys.
That's right.
And he is choosing now to just, sit here and grind for a little bit, and, well, we already do sort of know that this is a good decision, knowing that Hurtmore is going to be coming right away for him.
And you can't blame him either. He traversed a shocking distance and found absolutely nothing in the way of towns.
You know what this means? We might find Townsville.
There's the wings for up2ng, and he's gonna get an extra pair here. That one I think was an herb, yeah, so he's gonna fill up on herbs here. That's a really nice grind, and finally he's going to be able to gold grind, and it'll be interesting to see how much he wants to take.
Yes.
Personally, having learned Hurtmore, I would do a full gold grind, 32,000 plus. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he does that at this point.
Alright, so let's see how much money he chooses to make. Meanwhile, MisterHomes, making his way to the next level.
And MisterHomes is not far from that level at all. He is now 6 experience away, another Magician or Magidrake will do it, and suddenly he will have Hurtmore. I mean, he's barely behind at all. This is an extremely close race. up2ng still gold grinding as well, so not currently gaining experience.
Yeah, and aside from the, little bit of overworld exploration MisterHomes has and the rest of the mountain cave that up2ng has completed, they're pretty much going to be tied once MisterHomes gets through the cave. And
I like up2ng's aggression here. He stopped the gold grind short. I didn't see how much he got, but it was nowhere near, not even halfway to 32,300.
What happens when he finds more money down here?
He got enough for the flame sword.
Interesting.
He might pick up silver shield money seeing this as a gold chest. No, he's on his way. He is in full go mode. He is taking this finals very seriously, and I really like the aggressive play here.
And meanwhile, on the other side, MisterHomes has reached level 6 and gets Hurtmore himself.
So we're going to see some big kills on MisterHomes' side in the near future. I don't know if he saw that the northwest was a dead end, but he did see a knight up here. So he might... Oh, he's also going to get a Droll Magi here. That's really valuable as well.
Double Hurtmore on the Droll Magi.
More than 50 experience, can't go wrong. So yeah, a dead end up there for MisterHomes, and he'll take a different direction.
And I think up2ng is headed towards mostly a dead end here with a tiny little thing you can get out of in this swamp right beside him.
This Warlock represents more than 20% of the experience he needed to reach the next level, so he is going to use a Hurtmore on it, and same with the Wolf, that's even more. At this point, anything Spectre or bigger will get there for up2ng. MisterHomes taking a purposeful death warp to get that Hurtmore magic back, and a Rogue Scorpion will do it for up2ng. We are going to see level 8.
Yes, very valuable, the Rogue Scorpions, especially earlier in the game. So let's see, what do we get from level 8?
7 power, 5 agility, 15 HP, 6 MP, finally a bit of a bigger level. He also learns Radiant, and that was the only spell, Radiant.
Alright, so it is a little more exploration time.
MisterHomes seeing the Dragon Lord Breath from the Wizard, just valuable information to have for the later portions of the game.
Oh, so we've got a nice little lake over here. I didn't realize that surrounded that.
up2ng getting a good lay of the land, still hasn't found a town yet.
Yeah, the only thing we've found so far has been the mountain cave.
Can you imagine how nervous both racers must be, having Hurtmore and a gold grind and not having found a town more than half an hour into this seed?
Yeah, that's got to be a little bit stressful.
A green dragon for Mr. Holmes, but it acts first and unleashes that Dragon Lord breath we knew it had.
Alright, so probably the bottom of the map we're on over here. up2ng going, just looking for anything, and we find our first town 33 minutes in, and it's Hawksness. He does a little alley-oop here. Not even wanting to check out what the enemy is yet. I assume he really wants to get his money spent on something.
And now that he's seen this dead end, I wouldn't be surprised if he checked just to see if the enemy's an Axe Knight or Armored Knight. He's not that far from home. Oh no, he's got to burn Healmores here, and he's actually sent back. So he might come back and take a look, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's not too far out of the way.
Mr. Holmes finally acting and defeating a green dragon for level 7.
Had some good little revenge over there.
Now an Armored Knight, and he is acting first. He's got good odds to defeat this enemy.
And he does stay alive, cast the second hurt more, and it connects.
It's good.
So that's going to almost catch him up. He's only about 100 in experience behind up2ng now. Keep in mind, of course, with a Hurtmore Seed, things can really, go either way depending on just which enemies our runners find and, how much more downtown they have through other exploration.
up2ng has had a scary history with green dragons and Hurtmore luck, and I'm sure that was on his mind there, but he got the first attack, Hurtmore connected, and it was enough damage to defeat it, so a big relief there for up2ng.
And meanwhile, on the other side, Mr. Holmes has gotten to level 8.
No Hurtmore magic left for that Rogue Scorpion, unfortunately, so he's gonna try and plow ahead and find a healing town, and there's one for up2ng.
The town in the swamp. Does he have much MP left? Quite a bit, and look at that! It's pretty much a virtual high five for our runners here. Both of them about to enter this swamp town, which is Cantlin.
For some reason, I thought it was going to be Cole with the armor, but we have Cantlin. There are coordinates accessible to both players. If there's anything in the coordinates.
Why, yes. And I'm sure we'll find out very soon.
Only triple-digit experience for both players 35 minutes in. It must be nerve-wracking. I've been in this situation before.
So up2ng with a little bit more money here is just going to be taking a look. And he purchases the full plate.
No downside to purchasing that, as he can still afford the broadsword and nothing bigger.
So looks in the door of the next shop.
And he sees a flame sword and silver shield. So everything is grindable for Cantlin. I don't suspect he'll go back to the mountain cave, but there could be a scenario where he finds the grave, full clears it, and death warps for another gold grind. Same with Mr. Holmes, by the way.
So up2ng finds a hand axe and purchases that, and a large shield as well. So large shield, full plate, and hand axe. Pretty decent.
Yeah, no need for the broadsword when you have Hurtmore. That hand axe is going to be useful for some enemies that you can't hurt more. And both players simultaneously healing their way to the coordinates. I'm not sure if up2ng will be able to get out. He might death warp or use wings.
Mr. Holmes makes it first, and we may go and search 31 to the south and 18 to the east.
Less than 50 steps away. This is looking like something they can both count out. Looking like something on the main continent.
And honestly, especially considering they're so very close to home from where they are, I, definitely expect both of them to search it out right away.
Yes, considering how valuable armor could be in a seed like this, we've seen a lot of dangerous breath, we've seen a lot of swamp, and of course, not to mention the defense. It's not much for up2ng, who already has full plate, but the other benefits are certainly huge.
So what are we looking for that could be in this spot?
Well, it could be Erdrick's armor, it could be Erdrick's token, or it could be the fairy flute. The most likely is Erdrick's armor, slightly, because it cannot be in a treasure chest. The others could. Unfortunately, wow, Armored Knights have Dragonlord breath. It's a tough break for up2ng. Mr. Holmes was able to beat one. Mr. Holmes putting a stone man to sleep and running away.
So we have potential for a very fun Sherlock.
Fun. Mr. Holmes still doesn't know these guys have Dragonlord breath. What is going to happen here? It breathes! Wow! So both players getting a taste of that bad luck. up2ng resumes counting. And it does look like this will be on the mainland. Just a little bit south from here. Another green dragon for up2ng. He's gonna go for it. Can't blame him. It's definitely the superior play here. They have heal, but that's not enough.
Fine.
That's not enough to protect from another hurt more. Just needs it to connect, and there it is. Level 9 for up2ng.
And especially if you know they have Dragon Lord 2 Breath, you really just want them to heal themselves.
And MisterHomes makes it to the coordinates and gets the armor. It is the armor. Meanwhile, up2ng gets 7 power, 8 agility, 10 HP, and I believe that was 3 MP. No new spells.
So like, did that armor just like wash up on the beach or something? Because it was red at the very edge there.
Oh, an attack from this armored knight, and this aggression could pay off from up2ng. And it does. And I call it aggression, but realistically, it's hard to run from armored knights, and that was the rationale behind that decision. It pays off for up2ng.
Yeah, I feel like even with, the whatever chance the armored knight has of casting the fire breath, you probably have less of a chance to run from them at this point.
Time for MisterHomes to finish off the mountain cave. And this is a necessary decision. It's not a waste of time. He needs those stones of sunlight.
And now with the Radiant spell, we can see even more. And as well, MisterHomes saw Catelyn. If he wanted to, he could set up a gold grind to get some more powerful shield or weapon at this point.
He knows Flame and Silver Shield are there, and I do think he'll grind for both in this situation. I could see him maybe not getting the sword, but the Silver Shield for sure. up2ng steps away from that corner where the armor is, almost there. I think it's just 2 south.
Yeah, I think it's right on the corner there.
He's got another valuable enemy here.
Yeah, Magiwyvern back attacks. Oh, but he's out of MP. Well, oh gosh.
Sleep didn't work. Will he be able to run away? Yes.
He does have herbs, though, and is going to be able to heal up.
Just has to go down 1 tile, I'm pretty sure. He is gonna try it, and he got the armor!
Alright, so now with Erdrick's armor, he's off on new adventures.
So he's got a bit of an experience lead, but he has no magic, so he's got to take a death warp here, and MisterHomes very close to finishing off the mountain cave. Another red dragon in his way. Can he get away? He's got 1 more chance, and he does get away! But another red dragon!
He takes a step right away, and red dragons have hurt more, and that sends MisterHomes, well, home.
A clear bad turn of luck for MisterHomes. He was so close, and it's only red dragons that can hold him back, and now that's 1 chest. He might not go back to it for a while.
Yeah, if you miss the very last chest in a spot, sometimes you just think, well, I'll look at it later, especially if it's right next to home.
The good news is he's got his gold grind ready to go here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got the flame sword. It's like 45 seconds or less of chest taking. It's really not that much, and I'm certain he'll get the shield.
Meanwhile, up2ng doing a little more exploration, we find another cave up here. Oh, yes, right, we've been here already. It's the cave where he'll be exchanging the silver harp for the Staff of Rain.
So welcome to Dragon Warrior Randomizer, everyone. We've been saying this for months and indeed even years, but especially this year. Anyone can win, any turn of events can happen to affect a race. up2ng has been getting some very fortuitous events. MisterHomes, unfortunately held back by those red dragons, didn't find a town when he was exploring. up2ng did a tremendous job of reaching the Hurtmore level during that time, and that's where we're at, up2ng with an experienced lead at the moment.
Right, so I think most of the west of the castle, I don't think there is very much out there. I think most everything else is going to be towards the east. Alright, so MisterHomes still grinding away. He needs just a couple more takes of the chest to get probably where he wants to be. Meanwhile, up2ng finds the town of Vermolder. So usually we're excited for this town because this is where you find the keys. However, though we already do have the keys, so we're just going to be looking at this 1 treasure chest here to see what's inside it, and it is the Cursed Belt. Very nice. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yes.
It means that there is at least one of those 3 items, the token, the flute, and the armor, that is not in a treasure chest. So, or sorry, that is not in a treasure chest. It's in one of the 3 spots, either in coal, coordinates, or Hawksness.
I thought it just meant a hot fashion accessory.
Of course, we already have... no, never mind.
We do have the armor already, though this does guarantee that either the flute or the token is going to be in... Oh, there's another town. It's not going to be in the town. It's going to be in a search spot. But this town is cool, and it does have a search spot. Let's find out if we do find the token that we need, the flute that we might want, or nothing. And it's Erdrick's token.
Another step forward for up2ng. He has all the ingredients for the rainbow drop now.
So question in chat, where was Stones and why doesn't Holmes have any? The Stones of Sunlight were in the very last chest of the mountain cave, and unfortunately for Mr. Holmes, he had a very bad encounter with two different red dragons. Well, one good encounter with a red dragon where he ran, but the second one, a very not good encounter, and was sent home before getting to the very bottom of that cave.
Level 10 for up2ng gives 5 power, 2 agility, 6 HP, and 12 MP. Mr. Holmes has reached Cantlin, where he's going to purchase his flame sword and silver shield. A tremendous stride forward.
There's the silver shield, and there's the flame sword. He has the best equipment that you can purchase, along with, of course, Erdrick's armor, which is the best armor in the game.
He'll be worrying if the sword is back in the mountain cave, but again, I don't expect him to head back there, at the very least until he's been through Garen's grave.
up2ng still just heading east, seeing what's out here.
A red dragon has been found, and without Healmore, it's not really something he wants to fight. He gets away first try. That was still an unlikely run. The odds favored up2ng this time. Well, the odds didn't favor him, but he got away, is what I'm trying to say. Using Repel again to to avoid the unwanted weak encounters, and continuing to explore, this time on the north coast.
Meanwhile, Mr. Holmes had found the jerk, however, he doesn't want to talk to him right now because he actually will live up to his name.
It's good to know where it is. I don't think up2ng has seen that cave yet.
It looks like we found the eastern edge of the map. Didn't feel like we were traveling a lot. And look, another town in a swamp, and this one we do have Breckenry, left sleeve.
up2ng quickly leaving. Oh, but he's going to at least... I think he's just going to heal up before he leaves.
I feel like the inn in Breckenry is often overlooked. And look at that, on Mr. Holmes' screen, we found the Big C.
It's Sharlock, the final castle of the game. Neither player can enter until they have obtained the rainbow drop.
With that, you will make the rainbow bridge, which will get you across that very, very convenient open tile right beside Sherlock Castle.
And Mr. Holmes not taking Fire Breath on the preemptive from the Armored Knight, but unfortunately on the second attack, it sends Mr. Holmes back.
Yeah, even with Erdrick's armor, Dragonlore Breath is still quite a little bit of a scary thing to be running into.
He can survive one, but with the damage he took from the first attack, it just wasn't, it was too much for the armor to endure. And again, both players continuing just feverish exploration non-stop. This map looks like it's very spread out and a little bit windy. Still many caves to find, no swamp cave, no Garen's grave.
So Rimmildar over on Holmes' side, I do recall the chest wasn't too very exciting. Wait, it was very exciting. It was the Cursed Belt. Though, not very exciting to find as a runner, I don't think. And there we've got a cave on up2ng's side. And that would be a swamp south. Looks like he's choosing to explore more of this continent first.
I forget if it was up2ng, it might have been Lorgon, but there was talk of a racer who had a rule about exploring the mainland before going through the swamp cave. I don't remember if that was up2ng or not, but it looks like he just wanted to see what was over that bridge, and it was a dead end, so it's time to go through.
I want to think that was Lorgon, I believe. And casting the outside spell will immediately put us up to the north end entrance of this, and we've got some new content.
So Wolfman asking how you can tell which cave is which in the dark. In no cave can you move left, so you only have to check up, down, and right. If you cannot go up or down, it's either the mountain cave or tablet cave. And then when you head right, if you can go 2 steps, it's mountain, and if you hit a wall, it's tablet. If you can go both up and down, it's either grave or swamp south. And you just have to check for, or sorry, no. If you can go up, it's either swamp south or grave. If you can go down, it's either swamp north or grave. And you just have to check up and down to see if you hit a wall. If there's no wall, it's the grave. If you do hit a wall, it's the swamp cave.
And so over on Mr. Home's side, he did discover the Erdrick's token inside Cole. Now he is just the stones of sunlight away from being able to create that bridge. But again, we know that it is at the bottom of the mountain cave.
It's all about exploration right now. Both players have gotten some good enemies out in the field. Here's an Axe Knight for up2ng. Not enough for level 11, but a great amount of experience, certainly.
And he does take it out in one hurt more. I think it is more likely than not to defeat the Axe Knight in one hit with hurt more, but, you know, just when you don't want it to, it will take a little bit more than just the one hurt more to defeat it.
Here's a green dragon for Mr. Homes. Hurtmore connects, and he's got it. Meanwhile, up2ng gets an Armored Knight worth even more, and this will be enough for level 11, and he is going to beat this Armored Knight. There's the Swamp Cave for Mr. Homes.
Alright, now let's see what we get from level 11. 0 attack power, 5 speed, 13 hit points, 2 MP, and a new spell.
Heal more.
It's Heal More, as we can tell by our lovely tracker down on the bottom.
up2ng with only one hurt more left, trying to run away from this Armored Knight. It doesn't happen, but he made great progress.
And he is sent back home. Meanwhile, Mr. Homes hovering just around Swamp South. He did poke his nose into it and see what was there.
Same idea as up2ng, just checking the dead end and then going through.
And look at that, another Demon Knight in the dark. But wait, how do we look at that? So Mr. Homes casts outside and is now over on the other side of the Swamp Cave, on what we assume is the second continent.
And it looks like up2ng is just doing a quick key refill here. I'm not sure how many he used out in the field, but we might find out here. Yeah, he was quite low indeed.
Yeah, you never want to run out of keys. We do know where Remolder is, but it does take quite a bit of time to go refill keys in there versus remembering a Tantagel and having them over here.
So with Hurtmore in this seed, the difference in experience between them is not as big a deal right now, especially with so much exploration to go. It's really all about finding the remaining key items. Unfortunately, Mr. Homes has that Stones of Sunlight sitting back in the mountain cave, which could come back to haunt him in the event that he gets everything else from, say, Garen's grave.
So we've got Tablet Cave here for Mr. Homes. Just doing some nice little alley-oops around. When you're radiant, you can see everything.
And the outside spell will get him out of here quickly, too. Let's see if this is something valuable. The herb.
Not just any herb, though. This is Erdrick's legendary herb.
That's right.
It's a normal herb.
I was thinking, what if that's the sword? That would be a nice boon. up2ng is going to go back through the swamp cave. And he will use the outside spell as well to get through there quickly.
Very nice shortcut. No matter what, wherever you're in the swamp cave, if you cast outside, you will go to the north entrance. So if you do discover it on the south, then you use outside. Very fast way to go through. So how many more? I think we just have the grave to be found. That's our last cave, yeah?
Now that Mr. Homes has found the tablet cave, and they've both found the swamp cave, I believe you're right.
Yeah, so as mentioned in chat, that it should be in Garenham. So we have a lot of chests there to discover. Meanwhile, up2ng here now does find the tablet cave on his own. And Mr. Homes?
That's the
I
swamp
think he
cave.
just got level 10, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
It's also worth mentioning, up2ng hasn't found the jerk cave yet, and that is necessary. So a bit more exploration to go on that side. Mr. Homes with no MP electing to chip away at this Wraith Knight and defeats it.
Looks like he's going back into the cave to see what is our grind enemy, I believe.
And it looks like it's a red dragon, and he's just going to death warp from this.
Yeah, trying to run from it, that's going to be sort of not very much fun, and at this point, with no MP, you're not really going to do very much even if you do survive.
Herbs for all! So yes, as Brap has mentioned, there are 8 chests left on the overworld, and 7 in Sharlock. So an 8 out of 15 chance for the sword being outside of Sharlock.
And up2ng, sorry, chose to go home. I believe that means he has discovered all of the second continent. At least as far as we can think.
And I wonder what he wants from here.
Probably more wings. They do not have the return spell yet.
You're right, it was wings. Wing strats are never in my mind. You get repel like well over 90% of seeds when you beat by the time you beat the Dragon Lords, so it's generally something I don't think about. Sometimes you don't get it, and Sharlock is really close to home anyway. So it's just not something that I generally think about myself.
So we are getting to the point where now with Erdrick's armor and the HP we have, our runners actually are able to survive a Dragon Lord Breath with relative confidence. You still don't want to, but now with Heal More as well, it's going to help a little bit. Wizards here really giving some trouble to up2ng.
So, Distan mentioning that up2ng still hasn't gone back to Hawksness. The thing is, up2ng has found the token and the armor, so he's focused primarily on exploration because he still needs to find the Rainbow Drop Cave, and he may also need Garinham for that sword, potentially.
Yeah, and as well, I don't believe he has seen Sherlock yet either, so a little bit more exploration on his point. Now, I think this is the jerk here, yes, that is, so he is going to be talking to him, and, well, he's actually going to be kind of nice, just giving him the Rainbow Drop in exchange for his items, and now, once he finds the Big Sea, he will be able to make the bridge over if he wishes to.
The exchange has been made, and now it's just potentially the sword. And of course, there's the option to gold grind for the silver shield. Agility is not super high right now, although strength is extremely low. So he might forgo the shield grind, as he might expect to have to gain a lot of levels for the amount of strength he needs, and that could mean a lot of agility.
Though if he does choose to do that as well, you know, he might have the grave in his mind to look for the sword, and therefore think about, you know, considering that afterwards.
Indeed. Now, I haven't been mapping this out, and it's hard to keep track of every part of the map when we're watching two players. I have no idea how far Garinham and the Grave could be, but is this it behind Sharlock?
Yeah, I think they're right behind Sherlock.
up2ng successfully runs away from a red dragon, and he's here.
So, if a commentator's curse is a bad thing, was that the commentator's blessing?
It's interesting. I wonder if up2ng forgot that he had Heal More. But no, he's kind of weak. He couldn't really chip away efficiently at a red dragon. That was the right decision. That was not really a kill that he was looking for. So he had 4 Heal Mores to get away from the red dragon, and he happened to get away first try.
And he also buys a dragon scale and dons it. So yeah, question in chat, does that complete up2ng's exploration? I believe he has found every single location now, so all he needs to do is decide how much he wants to dive for that sword. And I sort of imagine he might try and go all the way, you know, assuming we do not find it right away.
Did MisterHomes find Hawksness?
I don't believe he did.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I missed that first chest, but
Gold.
here we found, okay, gold dragon scale and more gold.
And so into the grave we go, looking for that sword. And potentially the fighter's ring, potentially the death necklace as well, as actually this is looking like a candidate for the death necklace, for sure.
Ah, yes, good point as well. Depends if our runners choose to hold on for that hope as well.
And again, I'm expecting up2ng to try and run from this red dragon and use Heal Mores to try and get away.
Yeah, and as we did have red dragons on the bottom of the mountain cave, we will have them on the top floor of the grave, and we know how much fun these are not.
There's nothing up2ng can really do here. He's got to commit to checking these chests. There's really nowhere else to be right now, so he's going to try and get away and see how luck favors his journey. Meanwhile, MisterHomes has found Hawksness, destroys a Magiwyvern for level 11, so both players at level 11 now.
And we will see if MisterHomes does choose to fight this enemy, or we will at least see what it is. It is good information, because if we have very low strength, you might not want to grind on that red dragon. So meanwhile, we are just about at the first 3 chests out of the grave here. Once we get past the Stroll Magi.
up2ng finding a lot of 50-plus experience enemies in this area. There's... Oh my goodness, it's an Axe Knight. MisterHomes is probably going to do a fair amount... Like, he's probably going to drain his magic here right now. And that will probably give him back the experience lead.
So we had Fairy Water, Torch, and Gold in the top chests of the grave, and looks like up2ng is committed to going down to the bottom to see what is there. Meanwhile, we have nothing in the Hawksness search spot, meaning we unfortunately only have 1 cursed belt in this game. Oh, and that the fairy flute's in a chest somewhere.
An incredibly close match, and I was wrong. MisterHomes not electing to grind here. He's going straight for Garen, wherever it may be.
Meanwhile, looks like about 1 more enemy for up2ng on this level. Meanwhile, question in chat, I believe I saw Fairy Water as the 3rd item in the grave chests. Not the Fairy Flute.
And if up2ng can get another Hurt More to connect, he's going to reach level 12 from this green dragon.
So let's see, what do we get from this next level? 1 power.
0 agility, 9 HP, 6 MP. But most importantly, up2ng is off that red dragon floor. It's not impossible for them to be on other floors, but he got past the first one. MisterHomes continuing exploration, looking around feverishly for Garen. Checking all those little dead ends just to be sure.
Who knew it wasn't Sherlock's backyard this whole time? up2ng with the manipulation to run, and then finds the death necklace in the 2nd chest of the grave.
This is significant. As I say, with low strength and high HP, this seed is a good candidate for death necklace possibility.
So question in chat, Fairy Water, what it does, it is the same as the Repel spell.
For 128 steps, you will not encounter any enemies that are significantly weak relative to your strength.
It makes them all scared metal slimes. So MisterHomes here, very close to Sherlock. He just needs to go into the backyard to find Garen, and looks like he is headed that way. I believe there's only 1 path here.
He's gonna get it.
He does see a pathway. Assuming he can survive this, he should be looking over there.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said anything yet. He takes a Dragon Lord breath. It's not automatic here, but he's got a good chance on this Hurtmore, and he nails it. up2ng, meanwhile, getting a Rogue Scorpion, also very valuable. Gonna run from this wizard, no magic left. And of course the wizard has Dragon Lord Breath. Don't want to tangle with that yet. The final chest has been reached, and it's a key.
So I believe that confirms now that the sword is in Sherlock.
And now it's just time to wait and see, will up2ng check the Hawksness tile? Because he's in grind and go mode now.
Yeah, I guess the last thing on up2ng's side right now before deciding where he gets to grind is we're going to see if he chooses to go for a silver shield or possibly a stronger weapon. He doesn't know about the Axe Knight and Hawksness yet.
We know he wants a Death Warp here, but he's getting a little bit of bad luck encountering an enemy that he can't do much damage to, and he is defense breaking. He knows there are wizards, and he also knows there are red dragons on the top. He might be going back to the top floor for those red dragons.
So MisterHomes, meanwhile, has found the town of Garen. He's opening the first 3 insignificant chests, and we can only assume he is definitely going to go down to the very bottom because he has not picked up the Stones of Sunlight yet. Though I believe with this information, if he does get down to the bottom, he will, by process of elimination, know that the stones are in the bottom of the mountain cave.
up2ng gets his Death Warp from a wizard with 33 experience.
He really wants to wear that Scale of the Dragon. However, he is already wearing it.
So yeah, that first chest was indeed Fairy Water. And up2ng back to the start. It's time for that gold grind if he wants the shield. He could also get the Flame Sword, but I'm skeptical about that one.
But looks like he is definitely deciding to grind here. Don't blame him in this situation. Especially knowing how terrible Sherlock is going to be. I feel like prioritizing a silver shield is a very good decision right here.
Also, I'm starting to think he will get the Flame Sword just because he hasn't checked the spike tiles. There are 2 of them, but still, you know, it might just both be red dragons or something. A Flame Sword might not be amiss.
So Mr. Holmes here now, he has opened the 3 top chests of the grave and is now going towards the bottom.
And he's got 7 Hurtmores left, including the one he uses on this Wolf Lord. So this is going to be some catch-up MP, and if he's able to dodge this red dragon first try... Oh, but another one! He's so close to that staircase. Will he get away this time? He's got 3 Healmores left in reserve. He'll use one of them right away.
Meanwhile, up2ng definitely is grinding for Flame Sword and Silver Shield money. He did see them both in Catelyn, so that's a very easy decision for him to make.
Mr. Holmes using his second last Healmore. Only 69 agility right now. So less than a 50% chance to run, but he gets away and he's off of that floor. I believe the rest is much safer.
Meanwhile, on the other side, up2ng has gotten his money and is doing a safety save just because we know how awful this overworld is.
Yeah, there have been some rough things, and you still can't rely on running away from Armored Knights or Red Dragons. Even a preemptive from a Wizard or a Green Dragon could send you back. If you can't run.
So Mr. Holmes picks up the Death Necklace. Almost. He must discard another item. And he drops the Cursed Belt.
It's just another really good thing to have that you don't have to worry about. If you find the sword in the basement of Sharlock, you don't have to worry about the necklace being upstairs. That kind of thing.
So Mr. Holmes does manage to hit level 12. The experience lead has sort of been broken down a little bit.
I'm surprised up2ng didn't try heal more there, but he tries hurt more, does max damage, and does take down the Green Dragon.
Alright, so some safety for him here, and he'll be on his way again.
I suspect it'll be Catelyn first, and then I imagine he'll check Hawksness next, or the Swamp Cave, whatever's closest. And wow, there are Armored Knights in here!
Oh no, and this one is not letting him run right now.
And Mr. Holmes did... Oh, he's got 1 HP! No!
But it's not enough.
Did he get the last chest? I didn't see.
I think he was on the way there. But this could, in theory, be something good for him. He might choose to go to the mountain cave now instead.
That's a good point. It's right nearby, and it's 1 chest. It's closer than the bottom of the grave, too, in terms of cave distance.
A lot closer. But what do you do in this situation, then? Do you just choose to leave that overturned the whole time and not know until you check Sherlock for the sword?
I don't know what people's feelings are about sword probabilities. I know there are a lot of people who don't like to check the bottom of the grave for the sword.
Especially if it's already won. So up2ng on the other side has made it to Catelyn. And here's our shop. We do know that the Flame Sword and Silver Shield are here. He purchases the Flame Sword. And the Silver Shield. So Mr. Holmes making a straight run to the Stones of Sunlight down here.
There are Red Dragons here as well, but Mr. Holmes finding a Wolf Lord and taking some more experience.
And at least now he does have MP, so he is able to heal himself. Just a few steps left, and he makes it to the bottom chest and picks up his Stones of Sunlight.
So through all this exploration for Mr. Holmes, he has maintained the experience gap. It hasn't been widening. Only about a little bit over 500 between the two of them, and that's very little in a Hurtmore seed. So we're both just in grind and go mode now. I know Mr. Holmes hasn't seen that bottom grave chest, but it's just the sword left, and of course the fighter's ring. Which is not necessary. Is up2ng gonna dive for the sword without checking the grind spot?
I think he's gonna dive for the sword without checking the grind spot. So, of course, you put the rainbow drop into the sky, it makes a beautiful bridge, and now you're able to go to a not-so-beautiful place. Though I also like this move in the way that, you know, you can sort of scout what's in Sherlock, because they already know how many of the large enemies are quite frightening. So even just to have an idea of what you're up against for when you decide to make your final dive, definitely a good idea.
Decent information for a slightly lower agility seed. But there is still a lot of grinding to go. I don't know. I don't know, if Mr. Holmes grinds in Hawksness and up2ng dives for the sword, I could see Mr. Holmes taking an experience lead here.
Yeah, Mr. Holmes does know that the Axe Knight exists, and that's probably the best grind that they have here. I'm just trying to think. There might have been a town relatively close to Hawksness, I think just north of us here, actually. Alright, so Mr. Holmes decides, to settle into the red slime grind? Now we were one tile away. It's time for some Axe Knights, folks.
Interesting to note, Mr. Holmes does not have much magic right now, so he won't be able to kill many right now. And up2ng's still getting green dragons, which are worth 5 more experience than Axe Knights. So up2ng will be the first to reach level 13.
And with that we get 12 power, very nice, 5 speed, 2 hit points, 6 magic, and a new spell.
Which is Hurt.
Ah, Hurt. We are not going to be using that one, I don't think.
Nope. up2ng with that flame sword will now attack after that Hurt more. And this is really good experience for Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, if he had a little more MP, I'd want to say he's catching up in no time. However, he already does have to go heal the MP now. And yeah, some discussion right now about diving versus grinding. up2ng didn't check either of the swamp or the spike tiles from what we saw, so he doesn't have the information of Axe Knight or Red Dragon.
And I just gained some new information. Axe Knights have the spell of sleep.
And hurt more, so just another fun combination of Sherlock enemies, potentially.
They might be 25% sleep, but there's a second sleep on Mr. Holmes' side. Of course, he wanted a death warp here. And there are red dragons in Sherlock, as up2ng discovers.
But is able to run from one.
And the next staircase right below him there will yield a new set of enemies. He's almost down to the sword.
Alright folks, well I don't want to get ahead of myself here because we do have a very scary Sherlock, but if anybody does wish to make some guesses as to where our sword is, let's go with it. I'm taking middle. What do you say, NESCard?
Bottom left. There are red dragons on the bottom floors as well. Now this is really interesting because this is info that up2ng knows and Mr. Holmes doesn't know. Mr. Holmes might feel he's in a rough position in this seed and go at a borderline level, and it could be really close with those red dragons. We'll just have to wait and see. Another red dragon on up2ng's side. I'm not sure if he'll make it to the sword at this rate.
Yeah, a lot of brutal enemies in the Sherlock here.
He gets away! And he's going to use herbs to preserve those 2 heal mores. Just 1 herb, actually.
Risky strats here, but he still does have 2 heal mores.
He's made it to the bottom floor. This is also really valuable information if the sword is upstairs. And he makes it away from another red dragon! This is amazing! He's going to hurt more the werewolf. Maximal aggression here. And the werewolf has heal. He's going to use another hurt more. Still has 1 heal more left. Mr. Holmes has reached level 13.
Made it into the door. But there's another werewolf. Choosing to run just to keep the last heal more. Middle, it has the herb. Another fairy water.
And Mr. Holmes has retaken the experience lead. There's the fairy flute for up2ng.
And he's exchanged the cursed belt for the fairy flute. Now in the bottom row, we found the fighter's ring in bottom left. An extra 2 attack power here. He remembers to put it on right away, as is necessary to get the little bonus. Bottom middle is the herb. And the wings are in the bottom right. What does that mean, NESCardinality?
It's a really valuable piece of information for up2ng. I just really hope that he doesn't go for the sword right away. I really hope he goes and hurt more some Axe Knights, because I think even with the limited MP, that's the faster way to proceed right now, but just knowing where the sword is so valuable right now.
Yeah, being sent home here, I think that knowing that you should at least probably try and check what your grind spots are. But again, with such low strength, I don't blame him, but he does have the flame sword now, so let's see what he decides to do. Meanwhile, MisterHomes has taken the experience lead by about 500.
I don't remember what direction Hawksness is in, but it'll be really interesting to see where up2ng goes here.
It's east. Everything is east.
Everything
That's the
is
spoilers,
east.
except for the mountain cave. And question in chat, have we seen all grave chests? Yes, the only thing of note was the death necklace in the original cursed belt chest.
Was that Hawksness?
No, that there was Cantlin, I believe, that up2ng just passed. And looks like he is going back to the castle, unless he's choosing to go to Swamp Cave, but I believe that was a slightly different way.
Now he wants the sword. Only gonna have to deal with those middle floor red dragons this time. He seemed to get a lot more of them on the bottom floors. And he's got a fresh batch of magic for these Star Wyverns.
Yeah, he might think that it's not too bad with what he's seen. Because there were some of these smaller enemies worth fighting as well.
So let's assess the situation.
Ah!
MisterHomes has taken an experience lead from grinding when there was an enemy that didn't require the sword. That was certainly advantageous for MisterHomes. On the flip side, up2ng knows where the sword is, and in fact might get it right now, and that's going to mean a much clearer dive for him. He also knows those red dragons are down there. It's going to be interesting to see what MisterHomes' dive looks like, especially if the stats are somewhat close.
There's also some talk in chat about how some people are thinking MisterHomes might check the vanilla sword chest right away just because he probably feels behind, so that would be really interesting to see.
Meanwhile, up2ng manually fighting a blue dragon with the flame sword here. Wants to keep gaining that experience. MisterHomes finding an Axe Knight on the overworld, still getting good value. And very close to level 14 now. Unfortunately, blue dragons have heal more, and so it's time for up2ng to run away.
So question in chat here, what stats would you need to just win with the flame sword?
Well, you'd want 12 more attack than you would want with Erdrick's sword. That's the difference that it makes. It's not so significant that you can't win without the sword. But it would require a big level, basically. And up2ng is likely to get the sword before he sees the next level, so... And there's level 14 for MisterHomes. Only one power from that level, looks like. up2ng using the flute, trying to get safely to that sword. Very important to him that he makes it on this dive. He runs away this time.
And notice that with a cast of Radiant, you can see that chest there. You know the sword is inside it. And yeah, fair assessment in chat, MisterHomes is probably most likely to ignore the grave chest, just because there are so many chests in Sherlock, and one in the bottom of the grave, which is also a little further away.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I've had seeds... I can remember 2 instances just this year where I had nothing but 2 seeds left in the grave, and in both of them, the sword was at the bottom, and I was so relieved that I had checked.
You never know. Sometimes it does work out for you, sometimes it doesn't.
up2ng evading a red dragon once again. He's getting close to that sword. He is now 1 floor away. This floor, I believe, doesn't have any red dragons. He's found a Star Wyvern here, and he'll take a swipe with the flame sword to defeat it. But MisterHomes racking up a 2,000 experience point lead at this time, almost 2,000. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, up2ng still doesn't have the information of what these grind enemies are, and I don't think this is something that the sword will really help him overcome, unfortunately, so we're going to really have to see what happens later on here. Meanwhile, up2ng makes it to Erdrick's sword in the original vanilla chest.
And now what's he gonna do? He's not casting outside immediately.
He did loop back there, though. Maybe he does have some enemies he wants to fight.
I'm just really surprised he hasn't checked either grind spot. Let's see if he can take out this Armored Knight. He still has enough HP to survive a Dragon Lord Breath, and he's gonna go for it, but the Hurt More misses. Will he heal more? Yes.
So speaking of grind spot, there might be a chance he wants to check out what the spike tile is in the Sherlock Castle here. However, getting down there now with this MP might be a problem.
It looks like the plan will be to defeat this Armored Knight and then Death Warp, as he is out of magic, but that Armored Knight is a good game.
Now we're in the dark, walking back and forth. I feel like this might be the end for our hero. Unless the king is so kind to revive him.
Where are those enemies? up2ng is saying he's healing as he walks. And he might be defense breaking Star Weapons, I'm not sure. Nice, excellent move, but I'm not sure he wanted it.
They are still some decent experience, though.
There's a blue dragon, that'll do it.
Yeah, the blue dragon should be able to send him home, unless we commentators curse him with an excellent move. There we go. So up2ng is sent back home, and we'll see what he decides for grinding. Meanwhile, MisterHomes heads back to the Axe Knight.
Another jaunt of experience grinding for MisterHomes, and that's a lot of Hurt Mores. That's 16 Hurt Mores, potentially 16 Axe Knights.
And he only needs a few of them to get to the next level.
So, up2ng has the sword. Where will he go next?
I feel like this is headed towards the swamp cave, but sometimes following along is a little bit difficult. Yeah, I believe he's headed towards the swamp cave right now. But I don't think that was too close to a town. Cole might have been relatively nearby, but not very close.
There's the swamp cave.
Yes. Meanwhile, MisterHomes has been the first now to reach level 15. We get 8 power, 0 agility, 16 hit points, 27 MP. We're not quite there yet, but we're working on it.
Still not enough to win, and that actually bodes well for MisterHomes. He's in the grind spot right now. He knows he needs more experience, and up2ng is not currently there. So MisterHomes only stands to benefit from more experience gaining time. And
even just with the grind that MisterHomes is doing, that MP is going to help him quite a bit once he refills his magic. That's 5 more heal mores, or hurt mores rather, sorry.
Wow, 23 hurt mores.
Why don't you just do that to the Dragon Lord?
And you can see it's going to take a lot of chips to defeat a red dragon here. It'll be interesting to see if up2ng heads to Hawksness next.
Yeah, even with the Erdrick sword here, just 99 attack power is not going to do a whole lot, unfortunately.
But either way, he's definitely going to finish off this red dragon.
Yeah, sometimes in this sort of situation when you've walked out so far, you might even just want to use up your MP to fight the enemies here and then choose to go home after. But he was getting to the next level with this one. And of course he receives the not so good news of the 1 power and the meh stats. 14 MP is a nice little bit of a bonus, but it doesn't do a whole lot for you right now. So let's see what he chooses. And he does want to fight more red dragons, so that will be it. So MisterHomes is about 1,000, I guess a little less now, experience away from the next level. And up2ng, little further away, about 1,800-ish. 1,600-ish. I should stop talking as soon as they're, you know, fighting the final fight of their enemy, but that's okay.
Yeah, Mr. Holmes won't quite be able to finish this level without returning. He gets an excellent move there, but taken out by Hurtmore.
I don't know, 51? That wasn't that excellent, was it?
Pretty low on his range, that's for sure.
Yeah, but either way, he definitely did not expect to be able to defeat that Axe Knight. So why can't you hurt more red dragons?
You can, but it's only going to work one try out of 16.
Yeah, and that's not some very good odds for consistency.
If it did work, I believe red dragons would be the very superior grind enemy.
Yeah, they'd be very nice to find otherwise. So looks like Mr. Holmes buys a few extra keys. I'm sure he is Sherlock on the brain. And as well, he still does need to make his rainbow drop. So we'll see if he does some chores or chooses to grind some more right now. UpToNG working away on this red dragon here. This is going to be the last one that he's able to defeat with this MP that he has. Assuming he's able to get through it. And he does. Meanwhile, Mr. Holmes visits the jerk. And picks up his own rainbow drop.
Well, we know Mr. Holmes is not looking to beat the Dragon Lord now, and I highly doubt he's going to go into Sharlock. I think he's just going to go back to Hawksmith at this time. But I've been proven wrong before.
So question in chat, how much experience from Metal Slimes? 255 in this randomizer, the exact same as the Red Dragon here. However, they are playing with a Scared Metal Slimes variant, so even if you found one, you really would not have a very good chance of defeating one. Not impossible, though.
And this is going to answer a long-standing question. Mr. Holmes electing to play it safe. He's going to check that grave chest for the sword. Really can't blame him in a situation like this. And of course, with all the extra agility he's gained, he's got a better chance of running away from those red dragons.
Yeah, he really wants to be sure, and as well, again, with all of his extra stats, he will have a lot easier time getting to the bottom here.
Although with the flame sword, he might actually fight here. He's gained a few levels, gotten a little more power as well. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I feel like with Heal More and the sword that it'll definitely be appealing for him to fight.
And 100 MP.
So this is going to take a little bit of extra time for him, unfortunately, though he does have a little bit of an experience lead, but what's this? UpToNG is headed to Hawksness. He's going to find the good news of the Axe Knight.
Saving some magic, fighting the Wraith Knight. He does one-shot it with that sweet Erdrick sword. And UpToNG getting the news, he won't be leaving here anytime soon.
Yeah, this is definitely a very strong fight to have here. And so, just when you thought we would not be watching Axe Knights die over and over again, well, here we are again.
Yeah, boy, I was sure thinking that for a few minutes there.
Yeah, you know.
Zarnax making a bold prediction in chat. No comment here.
So just while we're doing a little bit of wandering and a little bit of Axe Knight grinding here, let's just be sure to follow today's runners. Mr. Holmes and UpToNG are putting on a lovely race for us, and it's a lot of fun.
It sure is.
And as well, please be sure to follow our team doing the work here. We've got Monsieur Slime doing the tracking and a lovely job at it. We've also got NESCardinality on commentary here.
And the ever so fantastic Sparkover on the restream, as well as providing her insight on the commentary.
Oh gosh, thanks. We've got a lovely team of people who are working to keep all of these races being restreamed. We are winding down, sort of. Unfortunately, it's hard to believe that we are at the very close to the end. Speaking of the end, Mr. Holmes finds the end of the grave with the magic key. Not the news he's looking for, but now he can verify that the sword is in Sherlock.
So I'm guessing he'll head right back to Hawksness. I'm guessing, but I could be wrong. Mr. Holmes, UpToNG now has reached level 15. Both players at the moment are at level 15, and UpToNG continues on the Axe Knights.
However, Mr. Holmes is getting very close to level 16. We will see what is over there when it is time.
So people are asking, will we see the inverse, up2ng catching up while MisterHomes dives for the sword? And I don't think that's what's going to happen right now, but it's still going to be a factor because I really do think MisterHomes is going to check the basement first on his initial dive, especially when he sees red dragons. I think he's going to play the odds and try and make it there. So it really depends. He does have 83 agility. You know, Sharlock might be good to him.
The one thing I'm sort of thinking of, I feel like it would have been a little bit of a better choice to heal up your MP before you go to the Sharlock Castle, just for survival, but maybe MisterHomes does just want to get the next level. This green dragon will get him there. Perhaps if this is the level, he will commit fully just to diving.
Oh yeah, if he goes into Sharlock, for sure he'll heal first, but I really don't think he's going to go in unless this level is enough. Again, I've been proven wrong before.
Well, what do you think? Is this level enough? Oh.
No, it is not.
No. But hey, he learned a new spell. Yes, that's right. At level 16, you're guaranteed all your spells, so...
So there you see the return spell, which is what he just learned, and it looks like he is just preparing to go back to Hawksness and grind some more.
Yeah, at least with knowing that the sword is in Sharlock, you know, it's not usually a terrible play to just decide to grab it on the way in, but there's a little snag in the plan where we do have it in the vanilla sword location, which can be a little bit of a wrench in the plan if MisterHomes chooses not to do that one first, which most people don't.
So you can already see the dynamic differences here. up2ng already having the sword, knowledge of Sharlock, and knowledge of course, where the sword was. MisterHomes, meanwhile, having an experience lead, and both players are going to be concentrating on Hawksness for a while.
Both players making a very similar walk right now. I am thinking we're going to see a few more Axe Knights. What do you think?
I think MisterHomes is deciding to initiate his Axe Knight grind a little bit before he makes it to Hawksness.
Ah, what a plan.
Get ready for dual Axe Knights. Here's an Armored Knight for up2ng, and with 120 hit points. Wow, yeah. Again, both players must be relieved to have the Death Necklace here, knowing that this seed is starting... Level by level, it's looking more like an Death Necklace seed.
Yeah, we're about 8 HP away from where people would normally consider using the Death Necklace.
MisterHomes is there. up2ng has found Hawksness once again. It's grind time. The difference between them currently less than 2,000, so less than a full level.
And they are going to be gaining experience at about the same speed. So aside from random little RNG luck, a lot of this was probably going to come down to both the factor of MisterHomes needing to collect the sword, and as well exactly what we consider the go time level to be. There can be some levels that are sort of questionable, and whether or not a runner chooses to go on that, well, it depends on their decisions, especially if they're feeling behind.
I'm already tensed up just thinking about the end of this race. I really think it's going to be extremely close.
Yeah, it can go any way right now. There's the catch-up work to be done, but it also all comes down to what our levels are. So 12,000 experience for the next level, and I believe MisterHomes is about 900 away from that.
Yeah, so 6 more Axe Knights for MisterHomes for level 17.
Ah, the important math. How many more Axe Knights, or Spike Tile enemies, until the next level?
up2ng, meanwhile, only needs 2 more for level 16. Yeah, people are asking about what if, say, the Axe Knight had 75% sleep. I think still 100% both racers would be grinding against the Axe Knights. They might be healing a little more cautiously, and of course, it could be that much more annoying, as mentioned, but I think both racers would be here. There's just nothing better.
Yeah, with the low strength, there really is no better option. And I mean, yes, we can say maybe there's a better enemy at the bottom of Sherlock Castle, but getting down there would really be an issue.
There's level 16 for up2ng, and with only 4 power gained, he will of course go right back to fighting. Taking a long look at those stats, but once you see 112 attack power, I mean, you'd have to have myriads of magic to win at that level.
Yeah, I think even with your attack range on the Dragon Lord at this point, trying to fight the Dragon Lord would not be a fun time. Can you imagine how long that fight would be?
It could be long. up2ng having used a heal more in the middle of battle, I assume his first hurt more missed. But it worked out, and now he's gonna potentially one-shot a Wraith. Yes, indeed.
And I think we're on the last Axe Knight here for the next level on MisterHomes' side.
Will it be enough, or will he have to come back? 17 power, I think that's it.
I think he's good. So that definitely doesn't take any time for him to think about it. He immediately casts Return, and we are going to be going.
Electing to get his magic back here rather than wind around Sherlock to Grinham.
So how are we doing here? Oh, they have a ton of MP though. So interestingly enough, MisterHomes casts Return from inside the castle to get outside.
I think he remembers that Cantlin's on the way.
I'm
not sure if he needs to buy herbs or not. But he's in fully committed go mode, running away from an armored knight.
And so yes, question in chat about MisterHomes only having the flame sword. Yes, the sword is in the vanilla chest in Sherlock Castle, so he has yet to go there.
It'll be interesting. We know there are a lot of red dragons. Will MisterHomes be able to conserve those resources, those heal mores? And will he check the basement first?
We do know that it is a very awful castle. Meanwhile, we have up2ng just running out of his MP here, but I think one more batch of MP here is going to get him to the next level, so we're going to have a lot of run luck to be considering here.
It's anybody's game at this moment. And look at how much trouble MisterHomes is having outside of Sherlock with a red dragon.
And we still know they're there. As Beta Strep says in chat, hello prelude to terrible Sherlock. Yes, I fully agree with that. The red dragons are in Sherlock, armored knights are in Sherlock. There are a few nicer little enemies, but...
This does already represent a lot of catch-up time for up2ng, already having narrowed the experience gap to just 1,000. He's gonna Death Warp here and then come back. Another red dragon on MisterHomes' side, just wants to make it to a town. And this, even with 87 agility, this is still horrendous run luck. Like, he should have been able to get away sooner on average. Finally getting away from that red dragon. up2ng on his way presumably back to Hawksness, and here is Cantlin for MisterHomes, our little jumping off point for healing. A little bit of repel before the in save. A green dragon on the way to Hawksness for up2ng.
And we'll see, what's he going to think of that level by the time he does hit it? He knows what's in Sherlock.
Well, here's my analysis. It's about 15 attacks to win. If you're being super conservative, we can say 16. And both players are going to have 15 heal mores. So, with all the extra HP as well, and the silver shield, it's a clear victory against the Dragon Lord. It's just a matter of being brave against the red dragons, and I think you just have to.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the correct decision is, because even if you're hoping for better agility from the next level, does it really mean anything?
Man, at this rate, up2ng is going to get his level before he makes it to Hawksness. getting a lot of good hurt more enemies.
Yeah, we know they're on the overworld, and we know they exist. He's even choosing to sleep a stone man, and he attacks it. Again, more good experience. It's just a couple enemies away.
Yeah, he's gonna be one enemy away from the next level. If he gets a Green Dragon, Axe Knight, or Armored Knight, and yeah, he's just gonna finish it off here. The Green Dragon's enough.
Yeah, with that being that close to the next level, I would definitely just see what it is, and well, we already know that it's a very considerable level.
And you gotta figure, he knows he already has a lot of MP. Once he sees this 17, he's just gonna dart on his way.
It's time for zoomies.
Look at that. Immediate directional change. And he's gonna hurt more his way through this Armored Knight.
He probably might think it's a little bit safer, and at the same time, he is going to have to heal before going into Sherlock anyway.
It's a little silly to note at this time, because MisterHomes isn't going to be fighting anything other than the mini-boss and the Dragon Lord, but up2ng has retaken the experience lead at this time. This is the 10th lead switch.
So MisterHomes has now snaked his way through the windy road. And he's finding the red dragons in Sherlock.
Alright, up2ng on his way through the overworld. MisterHomes reaching, he's just about at the fork in the road, and he's encountered another red dragon.
I think you read my mind. I was going to say fork in the road. But let's see which side of the fork he does take. What kind of fork only has 2 spears on it? That's not a very good fork. I need to buy some new cutlery.
So MisterHomes is going to use a heal more now. He knows he can spare it. He still has 14 left, and that is enough, especially with the extra HP and good defense power. He's also going to use an herb for safety.
And grand decision is, he does take the mathematically correct choice and does go to the treasury.
up2ng very close. It's very close, the distance they both have to walk. MisterHomes to get the sword and go back down, and up2ng to get to Sherlock and go all the way down.
So up2ng restocking on the herbs. Meanwhile, MisterHomes almost getting down to the bottom, doing a manipulation, but does not get the excellent move.
Oh, you'll love to see stuff like that in these races.
So I have to imagine that he is not committed to actually fighting the Dragon Lord on this level anymore.
Now this is interesting. I wonder if he'll decide to also get another level now that he's seen the red dragons, and now that fighting this one is going to put him on his way.
But is it going to be another experienced lead change?
Very well could be. I'm so riveted right now, I just have no idea what's going to happen.
Wasn't quite the experienced lead change yet, but who knows what's going to happen with the rest of Sherlock here. So MisterHomes gets to the bottom floor of Sherlock and is about to find, well, the not so good news. There is a fighter's ring, but that's not quite enough to console you.
up2ng does have a torch too, in fact. MisterHomes running into Armored Knights here, and he wasn't hurt mooring that one, so it looks like he was trusting his ability to run away rather than committing to another level. I wonder if he'll change that opinion when he does not see the sword down here. Good news for MisterHomes, he will get the fighter's ring, and that is helpful.
There's the fairy flute for MisterHomes. Could be. We do know golems are in here, and that could be used in a pinch. But he does open the last chest and receives the terrible news that the sword is indeed, well, upstairs. I always want to say downstairs from here, but it actually is upstairs.
They are so ridiculously close right now. So up2ng still has 15 heal mores, of course, just starting out on Sherlock, not on a red dragon floor just yet. How will this go for him?
And
red dragons for both, and they both run away simultaneously.
Nice running on both of their end.
Alright, it's time to check up2ng's run luck. He gets away, I think that was second try on that one.
And again, both runners do have the fairy flute in case they want it for Golem. Odds are they will run from them, but it can be nice in safety if needed.
Simultaneous golems right there, and both players are right in the same spot. Here's another red dragon for MisterHomes, and yeah, he's not fighting for the next level. Just trying to run away and actually get to the sword.
So this floor that up2ng has just entered is that therefore fork in the road.
Getting some good walking distance here with no enemies. And up2ng saw more red dragons on the bottom floors. I don't know if they're more than 20% of the zone, but I don't remember seeing 5 enemies either. Just remember seeing a lot of red dragons. This is definitely not free. Here's the first challenge, and he gets away first try.
Though I think for the first time in the race, though, we do actually have a significant type of lead here. Of course, anything can happen with this enemy RNG, but we do actually have up2ng ahead of MisterHomes in steps.
And he's made it away from another red dragon. He's on the final floor. There are armored knights too. They are not free. They have Dragon Lord breath. up2ng gets away again and finds a red dragon. Gets away!
Meanwhile, MisterHomes has picked up his sword and, well, we'll see what his decision is. He only has 87 MP, and that is not going to do that.
I don't know why he's not casting outside. I can't imagine he's going to try and beat the Dragon Lord with 10 heal mores here.
But he is still walking.
I'm a little confused. I know he has magic. Is this a desperation play? Does he think he's hopelessly behind and has to get a hurt more swag?
I mean, he is the king of the Swaggin' Lord.
I mean, he has extra HP. If he rolls a little above average and gets a couple double attacks, it's not impossible. What an epic choice from MisterHomes. He is going for it with 10 heal mores. And I like this decision the more that I think about it. What a brilliant idea.
It's a very aggressive play, and, I mean, really, considering what we know, the right one. So the mini-boss here in Sherlock is the Axe Knight. How soft and squishy.
up2ng has managed to keep all of his heal mores, and he is steps away from a very easy Dragon Lord fight. He just needs to hold on to those heal mores. He's got 2 casts of heal here, and I think... you use just one of them. That's pretty much all he needs.
The walk there will take you pretty much up to the top here. Anyway, up2ng is the first one to talk to the Dragon Lord. He is offered half the world. He says no, and he is a fool.
Man, I hope MisterHomes makes it with all 10 heal mores. What an epic final battle that could be for him.
I definitely want to see this Dragon Lord fight happen. Alright, well, would you like to do some math for us, NESCardinality?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Holmes has to use his 10th last heal more. Only 9 left now. And it's looking a little grim, but he's run away and he's gonna try it. Those double attacks are there. He's got that silver shield. It's still possible, folks. Let's take a look at up2ng's fight. The range is 7 to 14. He starts off with 9. 18. You cannot ask for a closer race than this. 25. up2ng, rolling a little low right now, but has extra resources, certainly not in trouble yet.
MisterHomes, meanwhile, has to burn another heal more on a red dragon.
That's 35. $44. Man, I wanted MisterHomes to make it with 10 heal more so bad. There's a double attack for up2ng. He's up to 54. Or was it 55? $66 or 67. I just wasn't sure if that one roll was a 9 or 10. I apologize. So 76 or 77. Perfect. People verifying that it was a 9. So we're at 83 now.
Thank you for those of you following along at home.
95. I'm so disappointed by the bad red dragon luck MisterHomes has had. It's just so unfortunate. Look at how he's right on up2ng's trail here.
And just for the stats here, Mr. Holmes has the experience lead again.
Oh, right. And of course, he will keep it for the rest, as it looks like up2ng is going to emerge victorious.
Oh, Mr. Holmes is actually grinding now on the Axe Knight here.
Hoping for a miracle level. Man, he was so close.
And the Axe Knight with the sleep in the Hurtmore sends him home.
And
Meanwhile,
there it is. With 3 extra heal mores left, up2ng emerges victorious and takes game 1 of this incredibly epic series. GG up2ng.
Finishes with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 59 seconds. And with that, Mr. Holmes chose to forfeit the race. Now, just a reminder, everybody, this is a best of 3. The grand finals are not over yet.
I am just blown away. My stomach is in knots. I was riveted through the whole thing. Big thank you to our runners for putting on such an epic show. And it was a long one, too, more than 1 hour and 45 minutes.
So I'm going to assume by the swift exit by Mr. Holmes that he will not be joining us for an interview, but up2ng will be joining us shortly. And just while I am looking at this here, the next match is scheduled for October 11th. That is this Friday in 2 days at the same time on RPG Limit Break at 9 o'clock Eastern.
I just want to jump in here to point out the bottom zone of Sherlock was actually 60% Red Dragons and 20% Armored Knights.
Oh my gosh, that is awful. But thank you for that.
Thank you for that. I think the other enemy was a werewolf.
That sounds right.
I definitely felt like it was at least 40%. No surprise here it was 60 after what we saw. Man, I want some ice cream after that race, but I did not get any today.
Ah, how are we supposed to celebrate such an exciting race?
Man, that was so exciting. Well done and congratulations to up2ng. What a back and forth race.
So we're just waiting for him to hop into the interview room here. We can see what some of the thoughts were on this seed.
Man, you know, I keep dwelling on this decision to go for the sword before checking the grind spots, and I just can't decide. Like, up2ng got so much information, it was clearly not holding him back 3,000 experience points, as the lead shift might dictate. Don't be fooled by that. Like, up2ng is here now to offer his thoughts. Well played. Congratulations, up2ng.
Hello! I cannot believe I won that race. As soon as I saw this spike tile, finally, I heard you guys talking about it. I mean, as soon as I saw the Axe Knight on the spike tile, I thought it was just over. I mean, I was just basically banking on there just not being an Axe Knight in Hawk's Nest, and of course it's there, so I don't know. I don't know how he must have had just some horrific stuff happen. I won that race.
There we go.
Sorry, I had a little bit of an echo, but I did just fix that.
Ah, very good.
So
yes, I was just saying, just to follow up on what you guys were discussing, I was sort of gambling on there not being an Axe Knight in Hawk's Nest. You have to take some risks when you play against Mr. Holmes, and I felt like, that was one. I didn't have any knowledge of either of the spike tiles at the time, and I was geographically near Charlock. I was like, well, if there's like golems on both spike tiles, then I should go get the sword. But I didn't want to like walk all the way over there and check. So I was just hoping there wasn't an Axe Knight there. And of course, by the time I finally got to Hawk's Nest, there's an Axe Knight. I'm immediately looking for the done as soon as I see the Axe Knight.
I know the feeling. So let me give you a little bit of context for a little bit of debriefing, if you will. Your decision to grind early and get that Hurtmore level ended up giving you a bit of an early lead. Nobody found any towns for over a half an hour, and I'm sure you both felt really nervous about that, but you maintained that lead for a long time. MisterHomes got killed before the last chests of the Mountain Cave and the last chest of the Grave. Of course, the Mountain Cave had the stones, he had to return there eventually, and the Grave, he wanted to check there for the sword before finishing off his grind.
Yep.
And meanwhile, you gave back the experience lead when you went for the sword, but of course you had the sword, and the fact that it was upstairs, that was really significant knowledge. So you were able to get it, without having to dive on the same dive. That was really
right.
beneficial.
Yeah, it's always, if you're trying to dive to finish the game, and it ends up being upstairs, that's a big issue. It's. I feel like a sword dive often doesn't work out well because you're walking a lot, and a lot of times you're not getting the right enemies, which kind of was the case this time too. By the time I got halfway down, I was seeing a lot of golems, and there were like red dragons, which I wasn't really strong enough to fight. And so it definitely would lose a lot of time to a really good spike tile. But we had such low strength that I was just hoping if it was, if they were both red dragons or golems or something, then they would have been really long grinds. And then, wouldn't have, I'm like picking off enemies with Hurtmore and Charlock, so I was hoping that would be a thing. But, if you're up against an Axe Knight spike tile, it's just, you're definitely losing ground in going through Charlock. But I could see how he didn't get to the last chest in Mountain, because it was close to the castle, so we both probably tried to go in there on fairly low levels. So, there were red dragons and stuff on the second floor, and I got sniped kind of early in Mountain, so I decided to go back in there for a second time and ended up clearing it the second time. But yeah, if I only had one chest left, I could see definitely skipping that for a while. So yeah, a lot of those kind of things are just kind of crazy, just the way they work out.
So when all was said and done, you were only 1,000 experience away from the last level, and MisterHomes got it. So he entered Charlock first, but had to get the sword, and of course went downstairs first, as you did. So I had to go back upstairs, and he had lost a few healmores. He got tremendously bad red dragon luck. I know you didn't lose any healmores, but it was rough for him. And he was basically right on your tail. You were definitely ahead. But he was really close behind. Like, he could have been in the Dragon Lord fight when you won, if he had actually made it to the Dragon Lord. It was really close, but he just got such bad luck. His MP got drained, and he had to try grinding Axe Knights on the mini-boss to see if he could get another level out of it, and it just didn't come together.
Oh, wow. Just that many failed runs from Arbor Knights and Red Dragons. I had got a lot of good run luck, because I saw a lot of them, but I was running on the first or second try a lot. And you mentioned the start. It's tough when you have the gold, and you only have 4 strength. So you try and like run around in all directions. And when I decided to give up on it, like the whole time for like 25 minutes, I'm just sitting there thinking like, man, if he finds a town, this race is over already. Because like the strength just was not coming, and it was such a slow grind in the beginning. Like if I just didn't go the right way and there was a town with an axe, a hand axe or whatever, I mean, the race was just over. But yeah, in retrospect, afterwards, I was thinking about it. I realized, wow, there wasn't really any town nearby. Like, because when I found them all, they were all really far away. So that was kind of my hope, was maybe he was looking for a town for a long time and just never found one or something. But yeah, the 4 strength with the gold is super tricky, and it's hard to know when to give up on it.
Just a quick note, by the way, about MisterHomes' luck as well. Just on the way to Charlock, he encountered 2 red dragons that just took forever to run away from. Like, he used multiple healmores. It was really ridiculous in contrast to your good luck. And it would have been really interesting to see just how close the 2 of you could have been if that hadn't happened.
Approaching Charlock, that's kind of an annoying one. But I mean, before that, when we were finding them on the overworld, we just didn't have any strength for a long time. So you didn't even have an option to really fight through them. Like, I think I took a swing at one time. I did like 5 damage. So, I mean, if you just can't get away, then you just can't get away. It's there. You get like no choice. When you just have no attack power, it's tough.
I wanted to ask you about something really early on. I noticed you explored a little bit and saw the mountain cave, but you didn't even enter to check what it was. I always think back to a seed where the tablet cave was in a swamp nearby and it had Erdrick's sword. I wonder what your thought process was when you decided not to even check what the cave was.
Yeah, I tend to do things like that. I just, my mentality is like, if it's just that small percentage chance, if it's the Stones of Sunlight Cave and it has the sword, then I just lose. Like, my priority was, we had that gold and I just really wanted a town. It just felt like, you know, going into a cave. I didn't think we'd make any progress in any sort of dungeon. And I actually don't navigate Tablet Cave without Light Source. So yeah, but it could have been the Stones of Sunlight Cave, and that's like, I don't know what the percent chance is, maybe a 2% chance. And if it's the sword, I just tip my hat and just move on to the next race.
Well, it didn't penalize you here. There were keys early on in the mountain cave, but MisterHomes did get a dive into the second floor and open up the second chest just before getting wiped out the first time by a red dragon. He made a second dive and got 4 chests later, but yeah, the keys, obviously the sword wasn't in the treasury. He got a little money, but there was nowhere to shop, and it wasn't that huge a deal initially. And of course, he played it really well, and just some random factors in the end.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of whether or not having keys early. It sounds like it wasn't too much of a factor in this case. It's just always nice when you can kind of progress through the seed, and you know, like you find Garen, you already have keys. You find Caitlin, you already have keys. If you went like that way first and didn't have keys and had to go back there later, then that's always kind of annoying. But yeah, in terms of immediately finding the sword or something, fortunately, it wasn't that situation. But yeah, I was very happy to find a loose key in Mountain Cave, although, yeah, I was a little nervous that maybe he could have gotten in there like 10 or 15 minutes before me. But as you said, it didn't turn out to be like immediately leading to the sword. So I don't know. I guess a lot of those kind of things just went in my favor, because a lot of times when you do an early grind for half an hour, you're just wondering if your opponent just found something in the first 5 minutes, and you're just so far behind. But just the way it all was laid out in this one, there just wasn't anything important close by.
But yeah, it was extremely close. 11 lead changes overall. Nobody found a town for over half. I think it was 33 minutes before the first town was found.
I'm loving that you're tracking the lead changes now. We gotta add that to the graphic. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw the death counters and I started thinking, like, that's such a good idea. I want to track everything that I find interesting. So I'm working on it.
Nice. Well, there's still, I'm still of the opinion that it's an uphill battle for me. MisterHomes is definitely one of the top runners, and I have to win one more out of the next 2. So I think anything can happen right now in this final. It's going to be pretty interesting this weekend.
Absolutely. MisterHomes currently number 1 on the leaderboard, the ranking. up2ng, I believe, number 5 or number 6 on that ranking. Really solid in a very tough field. We are in for an epic final. Round 2 is going to be on Friday evening. up2ng currently with a 1-0 lead. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Any other thoughts you have, up2ng?
I'm really very happy that you guys decided to cover this. The Sparkover NESCardinality team is awesome, and I see McGrew have made an appearance as well. Not sure if he's still around, so very cool that you guys were able to do it today. So thanks for that, and the tracking and the restreaming. Absolutely, without them, it's not a good show. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it, and see you over the weekend.
I just wanted to mention, since Mr. Holmes is here, he's talking about the heal mores he had to burn, unfortunately. It was even more than I thought it was. Really bad luck on his end. But when he got the sword, I thought he was going to cast outside immediately, but he started walking, and I realized with 10 heal mores, he actually had decent odds to win, even though he needed about 15 attacks to win. you know, there was so much possibility for double attacks, and I really like the spirit of that decision. So props to MisterHomes, and I'm really looking forward to Friday.
There was also like an emergency chance to use the Death Necklace too. It would have been like a little bit low on the HP, but not by like a lot. So yeah, there were a lot of like ways that you could have maybe gone for it.
That's a really good point. I didn't consider that either. It would have been 93 or 92 HP, I believe. Certainly a chance there with 139 attack power.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you just, like, lose some heal mores, like, right around, like, the mini-boss or something, you just, maybe just go for it, you know? I don't know. I guess it depends if you're worried about being cursed, and I don't know. Those are the kind of thoughts that I had, because I'm looking for any way to just kind of gamble in this matchup, so I don't know. Gotta find some way, something to do that he maybe isn't going to do, you know what I mean? But yeah, thanks again. I can't wait to watch it back. I appreciate the commentary and the restream.
Thanks for joining us for this interview. I think I might watch this one back too.
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting one. All right, well, I think that just about wraps it up for tonight. So thank you very much to everybody for joining us here tonight. It was definitely an exciting match to watch. Please join us again just 2 days from now on Friday evening again on RPG Limit Break at 9 o'clock Eastern. Take it away, NESCard.
From all of us here, I'm NESCardinality, along with Sparkover on commentary. Thanks to McGrew behind the scenes with a little bit of extra info as well. Monsieur Slime, I believe, is our restreamer, yes? Tracker.
Excuse me.
You are the
Scraggles was clearly restreaming.
Right. Scraggles, where did he go? There he is.
Taking a nap. And yes, just a reminder that this is a best 2 out of 3, so we will be back here again on Friday.
What's the time?
9 o'clock.
Eastern?
Eastern.
Nice.
Yes.
See you then, everyone. Have a wonderful night, and take care.